morning folks. Welcome to another round of coffee questions. What's today's topic? Kind of miscellaneous, but along with it, I'm going to show you a kind of a trick on how, or a technique you can use for wood dyeing. Okay, so first things first, you can remember in the videos a ways back where I made that railroad spike look like it was embedded in a piece of wood. These are the final products, okay? I'll show you here, and then we'll get them out of the way. Okay, so get around today's topic. It's Saturday. I wasn't going to do a whole lot today, but what I do every few months, another YouTube person, I forgot his name at the moment, but he made the comment that, look, every 2 or 3 months, I mean, he dedicates an hour or hour and a half to just doing, you know, maintenance on stuff. And he's right. I mean, I do, but I do it every 3 or 4 months probably. I go around. You know, I lube up my drill presses, I mean, the chucks, and, you know, the power equipment mainly. And I blow and clean out the shop and reorganize it, and I go through my tool chest. Now, the reason why I do that, there's stuff that I forget that I bought. There's tools that I have in this big tool chest over here. As I go, wow, I got one of those. Oh, look, I got, you know, American Vermont or whatever it is, tap and die set. Oh, look, I got a Snap-on, you know, tap and die set. Because I haven't used it in quite a while, but, you know, they're put away in boxes and stuff, and I totally forgot that I had them. It's, so anyway, I do that, and we do some miscellaneous stuff, but today's topic is, I'm going to answer a reader's question. Somebody said, hey, you made this, it was on a wood turning, okay, but I'm just going to use a piece of wood, just pine wood, this Doug fir stuff, and I'm going to show you the same technique, okay, and you can use it on figured maple, I don't know, whatever you want. Now this is kind of a scrap piece of wood. You can see here where I'm practicing my wood spirit carving with that Tack Life rotary tool I told you that I bought, and when I got a little bit of time and I play around, I just keep picking it up and playing around with it, trying to figure out, hey, how do you do that? And oh, I did too much of this, too little of that. But even when this is done, I use wood dyes a lot of times, and I use them in a little Badger sprayer. I'll show you that in another video, but this is a more simple method because I'm going to show you how to just do it by hand. So up here, I've sanded this to 150 grit right now. I got it really lightly wet, and I set it out in the sun for a little bit. It's totally dry. The grain raises, okay? It just helps add to a nice finish. I sanded it again with 150. This is where we are right now. So the first step I'm going to do all this by hand, is you can use aniline dye. You can go to Amazon or just do a web search, or Trans Tint. Now I use Trans Tint, and the stuff is a little costly, okay, but you only need like a few drops. And I either use alcohol or water to mix my dyes in, okay? So in this case, I've used water. And these are in mason jars, okay? And this will last me quite a while because I mixed up quite a bit. Same thing with yellow. So I'm gonna use blue, and then we're gonna use yellow, and let's see how it turns out. I'm gonna get right to it, and I'll just show you how I do it. You always want to wear gloves, okay? Because if you get this stuff on you, it will stain your skin. It will be there for days. Okay. Stir it up, of course, once it's stirred. I use these shop towels. You can use foam brushes from the dollar store too, anything that you want or have. Use regular paper towel out of the kitchen. I've done it before. It doesn't matter, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. I get this good and wet, and I start wiping it on like this. Now, there's an old finish on this too, but I wipe it on the whole thing. Do long strokes, just like this, on my final pass. And remember, this is the way I do it. Other people can disagree, and this is what it looks like so far. I'm going to pause the video right now because you have to give this time to dry. And then when it dries, I'm going to very lightly sand it with 220. I might use 320 also, but definitely 220. Now, I'm not going to, I usually don't go past 150 a lot of times, but in this case, because I'm going to use more than one dye on top of each other, I want to, you don't have to. You can try an experiment on wood and just put the blue dye on and then go straight to another color. I'm going to lighten this a little bit because I put this on fairly dark. So I want to lighten it up a little bit before I put the yellow on, because the question was, on a particular wood turning, how did I do it? This is exactly how I did it on the wood turning, okay? Just like this. I'm going to let it dry. I'll be back in a minute as soon as it's dry. All right, time's gone by. It dried. And then I turned around and I lightly sanded this. Now you'll see it's lighter in some areas and I left it darker in some areas. And that's to get an effect, okay? And so this is how I did the wood turning, like I said. So I used multiple dyes. This, of course, was blue. We're gonna go straight to yellow. Okay, well, let me get the yellow. What I like about these aniline dyes, or trans tint, and especially the mason jars, large quantity, I just shake it around and this is ready to use. If I use the sprayer, there's a little bit of cleanup. It's not a big deal. The Badger is very easy to clean. So, but this isn't the type of project where I really need to do that. This is just a simplified version, you know, of what I did. So there we go. There's the blue. So, let's see. I'll put it up here. Here's the yellow. And I end with long strokes. And it gives it this really pretty green, okay? And remember, there's no finish on here yet, okay? I don't do anything else. No more sanding, no more anything. Let this dry. It won't take that long. Set it outside, let it dry, and then you're ready to use your top finish. Now for this, I'll pause the video, and it won't be a complete finish, but I'll go ahead and I'll put on a couple coats of that Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Gloss. And the first coat will seal it. And no, it's not typically, I use wood sealer usually first. I don't have any handy right now, I've got it ordered, but I can use my final finish as a sealer also. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'll put a couple of coats, so I'll be right back, and then we'll go to questions and answers. Okay, I mean, again, time's gone by, and so far I've put 2 coats, and I'm gonna pan down, or I'll just tilt it up and see if I can zoom in. And I'm gonna show you right here. I mean, it looks really good right now. This is with 2 coats. I'll probably put maybe 1 more coat. And if you take a look at it, I mean, on a plane like this, I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to call it a piano finish, but I mean, it has a spectacular finish to it. And that's what I did on the railroad spike things over here. I got a couple of run marks in one that's kind of a screw up. That one I'll probably just give away. The other one I'll sell. But on this right here, this turned out nice, flat. It's almost like glass. I mean, see if I can show you closer. Hold on. Now this is like on plane, kind of. I don't know how well this will show up in the video. And then there it is, right here. Anyway, all right. So what's the point in all of this? A lot of things that I make out of pine, you know, Doug fir, you know, whatever is local at the big box stores or laying around. I bring it home, I make sure it's good and dry, I sand it, I get it ready, you know, whatever the project is, and then rather than just have it, you know, that bland color, you can actually add colors to it. Now, some people like that light burned effect and, you know, and some kind of a gloss over it or semi-gloss. Some people, you know, want it radically different. And you can use a combination of these. If you take a look over on this side, I used, it's almost like a red, and then it turned to like a brown, and it was a combination of using orange, yellow, and some other dyes. And these are what I call sample boards. I make them up, and I write on the back, because believe me, if you do enough of these and enough projects, it's easy to forget how you mix something. How many drops of trans tint did you put in that alcohol, or how many drops did you put in the water, or how much aniline powder did you put in that quart jar when you mixed it up to get, that shade, because you want to replicate it again in the future. And there are times I've done this and I forgot. And so I learned very quickly, you better damn well take notes. Now, one of the best ways is on these sample boards like this, is on the edge, like right here, or, on the back or whatever, I make notes. I used, black, and then I sanded it aggressively, and then I used this color, and then I sanded it, with 150, and I lightened it up, or I did not lighten it up, and then I used this color, and then I sanded it with 400, or whatever I did, I make notes. And then that way, if the finish comes out spectacular, I know how to do it again, because if you don't keep the notes going forward, doing projects and all this other stuff, you're gonna forget. So that's a tip. Write it. Take yourself like one of these, this is like a 2x6, and cut it into squares, a bunch of them, stack them up. Take one, burn it, sand it, with whatever protocol you're using. Like I said, I will usually, if it's a film finish, I stop at 150. Sometimes I don't, I go to 220, because I just happen to like the feel of it. But because you're gonna put a film finish on there, you're pretty much okay, to stop there. And I write notes on here. What did I use? And, did I use an oil-based stain instead of a dye? And you just keep meticulous notes on this and let it dry, set it to the side. And then, like, when you're doing stuff for people, like when I show people stuff on my phone and I'm going to sell something, they'll go, hey, I want it the color of this other project that you did. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I have those little sample boards, those little sample squares. I go back and I take a look and I can see how I did it, okay? So there's your quick tip. Not so much a quick tip of the day video, I guess. But anyway, aniline dye, trans tint, all these things you can buy online. The aniline dyes, they're kind of color fast, so you be careful. You can't just do this stuff and then expose it to sunlight consistently and all the time. It'll start to fade real quickly. The trans tint dyes, they're a much better dye, but they're much more expensive. But one little bottle goes a long way, because you're just using 1 or 2 drops at a time. It's incredibly concentrated stuff. So that's my tips on this stuff, okay? And you can change the color, the pattern, the look of any project you're doing and make it any color you want. Okay, questions and answers. Yes, the question is, do I always sand my projects to a minimum of 150? Yeah, I do. I use dollar store reading glasses. I say this in my videos over and over, and I take a hard look after I've cleaned it off. So let's say I started with 80 grit, then I went to 120 or something, then I went to 150. Each time I go up in a grit, I use those reading glasses and I look at the wood carefully to make sure that 120 grit, before I go to 150, I've gotten out all of the marks of the previous grit. And if you don't, and I've done this, and you miss something, when you go to put that finish on there, it's not like it's impossible, but you got to strip it, start over, and start sanding. You're gonna be really pissed, okay? I find this cheap dollar store, reading glass trick is, it's really helpful. I can really take a really, microscopic view and see, oh, okay, I missed over here, I didn't get it that good, and then I get my random orbital and I keep going, and then when it's all consistent, then I go to the next grit. Have I sanded projects higher than what I'm talking about? Yeah, there are times on wood turnings, that's the best example, usually not on flat work like this, I don't. On wood turnings, I do, because it's a whole different method of finishing, because sometimes I'm not using a film finish. I'm using oils, stuff like that, like, you know, Danish oil, or, you know, I could be using any combination of those things, and I'm not going to put a film finish on there, in which case I could sand all the way up and, you know, into the grits to above 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. It just depends. I mean, really, I don't like going that high. It's incredibly labor intensive, but if I have a piece of wood that I've turned, and like a vessel, and it has a spectacular grain on it, I finish it the best, absolutely best that I can, and I don't worry about how much time I have invested in it. I just, you know, this is the way I want it to come out. I mean, you know, I'm not doing it for a living. We're doing it for fun and, like, you know, hobby. Stuff I sell, well, it fuels my hobby. So I hope that answers your question. I kind of rattled on about it. Shop tips. What else can I tell you? Well, another tip I can tell you is I was going to show you. I came across the dry erase board. All right. It's small. It's not that big, and I keep it on the side of the refrigerator. I took a couple of $1 Harbor Freight magnets. I mean, you get 2 in a pack. And this I got out at Walmart, I believe, and it was like really cheap at the time. There's really no fancy bordering on it. I didn't care. I thought I got an idea that'll help me. I came home, I put a little epoxy. So let's say I'm into it for, I don't know, it was like 10 or 11 bucks at this point. And it came with this little holder here, and then these dry erase markers. I already had some laying around, so I just used those and I put them on the board. So what is the big, and here's a little magnetic eraser that sticks with it. So what is the big deal about this? I will guarantee you all the time you forget what you're running out of. I keep this on the side of the refrigerator in the garage, and if I notice I'm running low on 80 grit, you know, hook and loop sandpaper, I make a fast note right here, okay? Or I busted my last, you know, little drill bit that I'm using, you know, to drill pilot holes, and I can get around it for right now, but then later in the day, I'm gonna go down to the hardware store somewhere. I write it on here, you know, small drill bits, 1 pack, whatever. And I keep a list, or I keep important notes on here. I can write them on here fast, get right back to what I'm doing, and I know I'm not gonna forget. This has helped me out tremendously in remembering stuff. Or what I'll do is on Sunday night or Monday when I get off of work and I get home, if I know that I'm gonna order stuff off of Amazon, I walk out and I look at this. I put then I go back, of course, and I, you know, pick out what I'm gonna buy. It ships Prime. I go to work, I come home, it's there for me. So this is a nice little thing to have. If you don't have one, just a suggestion. I'm the home handyman. I think the video's been long enough. I didn't mean to drag it out. I gave you a little tip here on a way to remember stuff. And this one was just on a particular question that somebody asked me. How did you get that green? It almost looks like an ocean effect or something. But I used it on a piece of burl wood. Now on this one, I used it on Doug fir, but this is exactly how I did it. You can do this stuff too. I showed you how to do it. It's fast, it's easy. You know, get yourself black, get yourself ruby red, get yourself peacock blue, amber, yellow, get the packages of aniline dyes to start off with. Get them home, mix them up in those mason jars so you're not fooling around on the day you want to use it. Remember what your mixtures are. Write it on the bottom of the mason jar if you have to. Experiment with different colors. Look at the different effects that it gives on wood. This is a really nice effect. I mean, if this was a project, I mean, it really would be. So is the, the lighter, more antique-y kind of brown reddish color, but it's all in the customer's choice. All right, you folks have a great day. I'm rattling. I will see you soon. Bye-bye. And don't forget to comment. You got a better way or another source for getting these dyes and these stains, let me know. I'm gonna put mine in the, in the description below, but I mean, if you got something better, hey, let me know. That's what this is all about, helping each other. All right, folks, have a great day. Bye-bye.